Hi, welcome to the Vendon Cloud live session. My name is Rūdolfs and I am the project manager here at Vendon, and today's topic is visibility and control. So when talking about common challenges that the vending and coffee operators face, we see that there's not a good enough overview across your machines. They lack the details to understand when the machine really requires a visit, and they don't know when the restocking is required for those machines. So today we will be talking about real-time machine monitoring, stock management, alerts and events, and how this can help you make better decisions. Let's start. After you log into the Vendon Cloud, you're going to be presented with dashboard that you see here. First off, I do want to state that information that you see here is mock-up data, meaning that there may be some discrepancies or something incorrect somewhere. It's still mock-up data, right? But it gives you a good idea on how the data is presented and what you can see in here. So let's begin. So here in the dashboard, you have a quick overview across all your machines, statuses, how they're doing, etc. So on the left side, you're going to see your sales across the last days that can be changed here on the top right. You can divide them into revenue or present them by count, which is more interesting for coffee operators. Then in the top middle, you're going to see your sales and revenue. On the right side, you're going to see overall status of your machines, so basically machine health, whether any machines require your attention or whether they're healthy. A bit lower here, you're going to see attention required, meaning that these machines require your attention. So either the products have run out or there are some technical issues with the machine. Then in the middle, you're going to see your top performers. This is by sales count. On the bottom, you're going to see your top 10 events. Those are those technical events that are happening in your machine. And on the left side, you're going to see your top performing products, either by revenue or you can filter them by count. Let's move on to the monitoring. So if we switch to the monitoring screen, on the right side, you're going to see filters. This will be present in different reports that you're going to see as well. And here you can quickly filter out specific machines. You can filter out machines shown by clients, by locations, or by tags that you can assign to each machine, like whether it's a snack machine or whether it's selling drinks, hot drinks, cold drinks, whatever. So let's go back to the monitoring. So this is a good tool to monitor machine statuses. Of course, you're going to see not only your signal strength, power levels, whether there's an issue with communication, but you can also see your stock levels, cash in the machine, sales this month, when the last sale has happened, your refills. And how I would use this is to get a quick glance here and see the signal strength. So green would be self-explanatory, everything's fine, and the data is uploaded, I would say, almost instantly. If you're going to see a yellow icon, that means that the signal strength is low. This is because the machine may be in a place where the SIM card signal is not that good, maybe in a metro or in a building with thick walls. This doesn't mean that the data will not be uploaded. It means that there may be some delays. And I'm talking about like several seconds until the data gets uploaded. For example, if a vent has been made. If you see a red signal icon, this means that there's an issue with the signal. And here we see that also the power level is red, meaning that it's off. So this explains why also the signal strength is, I would say, non-existent in this instance. But yes, that's how you can divide these or track these signal strengths. If we're talking about the power statuses, I can mention that the V-Box comes with a built-in battery, and that's how it can understand when the machine has been turned off and create an event to inform you that it has lost power. So there are three types of power icons. Black, meaning that the power is on, everything's fine. Red one, which shows that the power is off. This means that the V-box is still on battery power and it knows that the machine is off. Or there's a question mark, right? Question mark right here next to the power. This means that the status is unknown. And why this happens is that the V-box has run out of power and it's also offline, meaning that it doesn't understand anymore whether the machine has been turned off or not. But in essence, this is how I would use this machine monitoring tool. Let's move on. So here in the transaction log, you're going to see all your transactions, just listed by each transaction, showing the date and time when the transaction has happened, the machine in which the transaction was made, the selection number that was pressed, the name of the product associated with the selection number, and of course the price, type of payment, whether it was bought by cash or by card, whether it's free vend, for example. And on the right side, you're going to see your filter section that I mentioned previously. Here you can choose the date range. You can choose not only for today, for yesterday, last 7 days, last week, last month, or do a custom range. This allows you to choose whether you want to filter it out starting, for example, February 5th till February 20th. So that's an option here as well. But let's move on to the sales overview. So this gives you an overview how you're doing sales-wise. Again, this is by revenue, and you can see your dates on the bottom. If you go a bit lower into data section, you're going to see the first day of this month, the second, and so on, with totals on the bottom. But again, in the filter section, you can choose not to show data by sales, but display it by count. And for coffee operators, this is a good tool to get a quick overview how many cups have been sold. But we can do it a bit in a bit more detail here. So let's move on to the sales report. So here is a summary of all your products sold. Again, by default, it's going to show you data for today, but you can choose different date range. But it lists all of the products and the quantities. How many have you sold? You're going to see articles frequently as well right next to the product, but or components. This is an article number that you can assign to each product, and it can correspond to, for example, a warehousing system that you use. So to quicker distinguish between different coffee beans, you can assign a specific article to that, and it will be presented here. Now, if we move on to the report section, here you're going to see your sales divided by machine. So basically, we see how this machine is performing, what products did the machine sell today, and the same goes for other machines. For example, this is a coffee machine, and you can see your coffee drinks listed here. How many have you sold? And again, this is today, but you can choose a specific date range if you want to. Another thing I wanted to mention here is that you can automate these reports. Basically, if you have a necessity to receive these reports on every Monday for the previous week at a specific time, you can do that. You click on Automate the reports, New Report. Here you can choose what machines you want to see or which locations. If you have assigned different tags to those machines to distinguish them, you can choose your tags or your clients. Additional filters are available if you want to distinguish by products, but after you've chosen your selections, you click on Next, and here you can enter your name, or basically the name of the report, and choose your recipients in the system. Apart from that, you can choose here the frequency, the date or the day of dispatch, the time periods, report interval, however you wish, just as I explained previously. So easy as that. And if we move on to these reports, you can also export this data in an Excel or PDF. This covers the sales part, but let's move on to the consumption and stock levels. So for the inventory reports, here you're going to be able to see your inventory by product, or on the top part here you can choose also your component. This means that we have divided those, where product is a single product, like your candy bars, your bags of chips, etc., and your components. Components are what drinks are made of. So we have distinguished between those typical vending products and coffee products or drinks. But here, basically, you can see your product. Let's take bacon chips here. It's stocked at overall 90%. Amounts are quite high because they are stocked in 68 of our machines. And if you click on the arrow here on the right side, you're going to be able to see a list of all your machines and stock levels there. So in some, it's not stocked at all. If you have set up expiry dates, you're going to be able to see them here. And if it's not fully stocked, you're going to be able to see it here by percentage or by amount. So this is how you would use your inventory report. Same applies for the components. Let's move on. Again, I wanted to show you a bit more about components. And this is a good tool which has its functionality divided into two parts. So one would be to track how many of those components have been used if we're talking about coffee machines. And here you can see that date range by default is going to be for today, but again you can choose, for example, how many components have been consumed during this week. And you can see your coffee beans at 5.11 kilograms, etc. Right? So you can quickly see that if we filter out a specific customer, how much they have consumed and whether maybe they need additional products, additional components delivered, additional coffee beans. And this would also be a good tool to use for preventative maintenance. Not preventative maintenance, but to alleviate fraud. So how you can do that is that, first of all, for office coffee services, typically they also buy the coffee from the provider, from the platform user, right? And this would allow you to track how much product has been delivered versus how much has been consumed. So if you sold them or they bought from you 20 kilograms this week, and you see here that this week they have consumed 30, even though you see that, okay, but last week they only had a couple of kilograms left. This would mean that they are buying it on the side. So this is how you can track the consumption and alleviate fraud in this case. Additional report I wanted to show you is the refill log. This logs all of the refills done in the machine. Refills can be done in three ways. So one would be you can do it in the Vendon Cloud. This is on machine level. Then you can do that on the telemetry unit itself. It has a button that allows you to register refills, and you can do it in the mobile app. So if any form of refill has been done, it will be registered here. And you can quickly see which machine was refilled, what products were added by amount. So this covers both the vending machines and coffee machines. So this is a good tool to track your refills. Additionally, I can say that we can also take a look at refills reports, and this shows you a machine specifically, for example, for today, what kind of products were added here as well. So just a list of all your machines, and you can track it refill by refill. Now let's look at the stock levels and refills on machine level. So whenever you click on a specific machine, you're going to be presented with a dashboard. Something similar to what you see when you log into the Vendon Cloud, but now on machine level. So you see your 7-day performance, your statuses, whether there are active events, whether the power is on or off, etc. You're going to see your sales by revenue or by count, and your stock levels here on the bottom. But let's say we want to dive a bit deeper. So let's go to the stock section here. And now you're going to be presented with stock levels of all your components. I've chosen a coffee machine in this case. And you can see your coffee beans, dark coffee beans that are in the machine, cups, your milk, milk powders, etc. However you have set up your machine. And as I mentioned previously, you can refill your machine here. And apart from that, if there are some differences between the refills and what in reality is in the machine, you can do it here in the remaining column. You can click on plus sign or minus sign. Let's say we want to add some products, coffee beans, and you can choose what quantity you want to add. This is if you need to edit some of these values. Let's say it's full to the brim. So let's add these grams. Here we can choose the reason. Let's say other adding product. That's it. Click on add and the values are now at 100%. The machine is full. So that's how you can register refills here in the Vendon Cloud and how you can change the amounts that are currently in the machine if needed. By default, you can set up those refill values however you wish for the products. And by default, they're going to be filled up to the maximum that you have set up. But let's look at the refills section. So here you can see all your refills. We just did add some coffee beans to max it out, and it shows it's completed. So it registered the refill. And previously we can see the dates when refills have been done and what products, how many were added. So that's how you can track those refills. Let's move on to the events section. So the events are technical occurrences, activities, things happening in your machine. And they are divided into two parts, I would say. Some come from the machine itself, some from the VBox. So for example, if the machine goes offline, VBox is the one reporting that. But depending on the machine, there are some technical events that come directly from the machine when the product is stuck, for example, or if a sensor fails. Those are just a couple of examples. And they all get registered in the events section. They come from the audit readout. And we have divided those into three different types of events. So there are informative, active, and inactive ones. They are distinguished also by color. So informative events are events that don't require your attention. So if there's a refill done in the machine, encashment, stuff like that, machine just reports those and you can just take a look at that. So they inform about something, but it doesn't mean that you need to rush to the machine or change something. Let's change the status here. So let's look at the active ones. The active ones are those events that are generated when an issue comes up. So let's say that the component is at a critical level that you can set up for each product in the machine, so that you see that, okay, we're running out of a specific product soon and a refill must be planned. Same goes for when the component is empty, when the machine loses power, stuff like that does require your attention. Those are the active events, and they are resembled by a red icon here. And now let's take a look at inactive events. And how those differentiate is that inactive ones are basically ones that are resolved. There was an issue, it got resolved. Let's say your machine lost power due to a power cut. So it will generate an event that the machine lost power, at what time, and let's say in 20 minutes the power comes back on. It will then change this event to a green one or inactive one, showing you that the power is back on, machine is online, and everything is fine. And it records the duration as well. So same goes for components that are refilled. stuff like that. So depending on the machine, you can get more detailed or less detailed technical events because those are taken from the machine itself. Now, how you can get notified about these is that you can go to the settings section and alerts. Here in the alerts section, you can create a new alert for, let's say, myself. Now you can choose channel. You can receive them by email, by a text message, or you can also receive them via push notification in the mobile app. If you have it, then you can get notified in that case, in that way as well. Text message alerts, I wouldn't personally suggest, only if you need to, because there is a fee associated to that. But still, let's say I want to be notified via email. Now we can choose event tags, because to each event there are some tags that are automatically assigned, like power ones, but you can also assign different new tags or group those events into different groups, should I say, and get notified only about those. And then you can choose for which machines. By default, it's going to choose all machines, but you can choose your own machines that are assigned to you as a user. Or you can click on custom machines, and then you can choose which specific machines, or by machine tags or locations or clients, and then just click save. Thank you for attending this session. In the next one, we will tell you more about smarter maintenance. So definitely join that as well. Once again, thank you for staying with me on this one. And on the screen you see my contact information. You can also find me on LinkedIn, so feel free to get in touch if you have any questions about the cloud or solutions or how it works. Talk to you soon.